almost sounds in a way a little bit unbelievable when you start to say, am I really looking at people working in the White House or closely with the White House, where we're saying this person is a communist, right? Where we now actually have the C word, out there. It seems like you're in some sort of time warp. So, but define for me, when Van Jones says that he's a communist, does that mean the same thing as we associate it, meaning over history? What does a modern communist look like, and what do they believe?
Well, that's a good question, because I don't think that folks like Van Jones and the other people involved in Apollo have ever read a word of Karl Marx. They're reading very derivative, second and third generation derivative stuff, African liberation studies and post-structural feminist sort of drivel, that kind of thing. If you actually look at the group that Van Jones started, the so-called Marxist Revolutionary Group. It was called Standing Together to Organize a Revolutionary Movement, or STORM.
Right.
And you read their manifesto, it's a mess. I mean, this is not an accomplished piece of scholarship. This is not written by people who are, students of Karl Marx or anything else of that nature. It's written by a bunch of people who want to be radical for the sake of being radical and want to be out there and challenging authority and that kind of thing. It's closest to anything philosophical. I'd say it's closer to Maoist than it is to Marxist or Leninist. But, Mao was a communist, and a pretty brutal one at that, and the idea of just all authority deriving from power and that people need to seize power. It's a very frightening conception in its own right. You may want to say it's not properly defined communism, but the guy used the word himself. It's not my word. So I think it's fair to say, to question someone who's a self-described communist being in the position of being a special advisor to the president.
Yeah, it seems like a fair question, to me, and he comes across well. He speaks well. Although I will say, it is in the video that I watched today, it's just a whole mess of buzzwords and gobbledygook and things like we're getting them upskilled. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but you're happy that you have $80 billion, to fund that program. So now we looked earlier in the week as kind of paralleling some of what Beck was doing and some of the questions about Van Jones. Yesterday, you were on particularly talking about Jeff Jones. I don't know that every communist in America is named Jones, but sort through for us now. Why is Jeff Jones an important figure? He doesn't work for the White House, but the key here is influence.
Yeah, well, we've been talking about the Apollo Alliance, which again is that umbrella group it came out of something that was called the Blue-Green Working Group, and this is a long-standing attempt on the left to get the unions, organized labor bosses, with the environmental groups and the social justice organizations like ACORN all pointed in the same direction and working together. And I think Apollo is really important because its reach is vast on the left. This is not a radical group. This is very much in the mainstream. Well, it is a radical group. Of course, Van Jones was on the board and it has a radical agenda, but it's very much in the mainstream of the left. John Podesta from the Center for American Progress, who led the Obama transition team, is on the board of the Apollo Alliance. Leo Gerard from the International Steelworkers Union, who the American Prospect magazine called Leo the Linchpin for his role in bringing together organized labor with the environmental movement, is on the board of Apollo, and the SAIU vice president is also on the board. Carl Pope from the Sierra Club is on the board. So this brings together some major heavy hitters on the left. Bracken Hendricks, who was the original executive director of Apollo, has been at the Center for American Progress for the past several years, working for Podesta, pushing a lot of this up on the Hill, and so on. They're very well connected in this administration, and so and in the left sort of movement generally. So I think it's important to look at who Apollo is using as actual staff on the ground to implement the policies that they push for, including the stimulus bill, which they helped write the legislation on. And it so happens that one of their state directors, their New York state director, is a man named Jeff Jones. He was a weatherman terrorist and a member of the Students for a Democratic Society. He was actually the co-founder with William Ayers of the Weather Underground's Weather Bureau, modeled on the Politburo, their sort of central high command for their terrorist activities. As recently as 2004, Jones said in an interview that's somewhere on the internet, I think it's a website, Democratic Underground, something like that, I can find the link for you, said as recently as 2004 that he didn't regret it. He would do it all over again, that it was the right thing to do, and that, violent revolution was necessary at the time. So this is not someone who made a mistake as a kid and says it was a mistake and so on. This is someone who thinks it was the right thing to do, stands by it, and so on. He's the Apollo New York State Director. He's also on a commission appointed by Governor Patterson in New York called the Commission on Environmental and Energy Transition. Not clear what they're transitioning to or exactly what they do. I haven't been able to find much information about that.
Let me ask you one question real quick.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we like to do on the Bcast is we can kind of work on the fly. And so and I did find, right before we went on the show and you mentioned there was a video, I found one clip of Van Jones, Jeff Jones speaking, and we're grabbing that video now. And not to ask you to multitask too much, but if you want to go ahead and email back to, did we give any? I'm not sure if we.
You can do the bcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, the bcast@gmail.com. We can, while we're talking, grab that video to play the clip that you're talking about, because I'm interested if you have a Jeff Jones.
Well, if you go to facebook.com/Phil Kerpen, which is my fan page, I've got it posted there, I think.
Okay,
very good.
It might be the easiest way for you to find it, but it was like a response to someone, so it might be
down a little bit. Okay, we're checking, because I think that it's that when you have a Jeff Jones, kind of, it sounds like playing from the Bill Ayers playbook, right? Of I'm proud of what we've done and no apologies and moving forward. To me, this is the thing that is the most fascinating about Barack Obama and his friends, is the consistency of their thinking.
I posted on that page. It's on a posting that says "On Beck shortly, please watch." It's the third item down.
Perfect.
And it's got the link there.
Oh, great!
So
Thank you.
We'll have that grabbed, and as soon as it's ready, I'll pause you. And
you might have to seek through the video a little to find that particular part. Though,
yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
We're good at this. We're good at this.